Richard Strauss left his audiences an unanswered riddle on the title page of this tone poem, Till Eulenspiegel's Merry Pranks. The subtitle to the work is After an Old Rogue's Tale in Rondo Form. But Strauss gave us neither the tale nor any clue to identifying the form. It was, I am sure, his own private laugh at the expense of the ultra-studious musical Philistines of his time. Actually, the work is not a rondo in the accepted sense of the form. At the request of the conductor of the work's first performance, Strauss wrote the following unexplanatory note. It is impossible for me to furnish a program to Eulenspiegel. Let me leave it, therefore, to my hearers to crack the hard nut which the rogue has prepared for them. By way of helping them to a better understanding, it is sufficient to point out the two themes and which, in the most manifold disguises, moods, and situations, I am still quoting Strauss, pervade the whole work up to the catastrophe when, after he had been condemned to death, Till is strung up on the gibbet. That brief comment is all that the composer has left his listeners. Let us, therefore, follow his one simple cue and examine the myriad variations of those two themes and tie them up with a generally accepted version of the story. The piece starts with a tender melody which seems to suggest once upon a time. Actually, this is no more than a softer, slower version of the second Till theme you have just heard. These 6 notes when played slowly on the violins become the theme of a short introduction. But when they are played fast and in a distinctive perky rhythm by the clarinet, they become one of Till's musical signatures. For identification, let us call that theme Till the Mocker. After the short introduction, the gay mood of the whole work is set by the other theme announced by the French horn under soft tremolos of the violins. It might be called Till the Adventurer. Incidentally, Strauss's father was a famous horn virtuoso, and his son seems to have assumed that anything his father could play, anyone else could play. That theme is one of the most difficult horn passages ever written. Listen to the first 5 notes. They form the kernel of this theme, which later will appear, as Strauss told us, in the most manifold disguises and variations. At present, the whole theme continues, appearing in the different sections of the orchestra. Now in the oboes, the clarinets, the cellos and bassoons, building to an exciting climax, a pause, and now we hear Till the Mocker. With that, the main body of the musical tale begins. Immediately Strauss shows his ingenuity. The 4 bars that follow sound almost flippant. But they are uniquely tied up to the theme of Till the Mocker. The violins close the phrase with a slight variant of that theme. As a background, the 4 horns play the following enlargement of it. And the bassoons and oboes play tiny portions of it as a subtle counterpoint. With these as musical guideposts, listen to that phrase again and marvel at the virtuosity of Strauss's intricate invention. The violins, the horns, the oboes and bassoons. After these morsels of the second theme are played with in a variety of ways, Till is ready for his first prank. Listen to his theme in the basses, answered by the flute, he spies some women in the marketplace. While they are busy gossiping, a sweeping scale in the clarinets shows Till rushing into their midst on a horse. There is a complete confusion of broken pots and pans. And angry cries of the women. All this is still variation. The confusion is made up of bits of the second theme played very fast upon the high winds. And only slightly slower by the trombones. But together, with the sweeping strings, they give a perfect picture of confusion. As the echoes of this melee die away, Till pauses to think what prank to play next. One can almost hear him scratching his head. The idea is hatched. He will disguise himself as a fat friar and preach irreverent sermons to the crowd. But bits of his true face show through the disguise, now mockingly expressive in the basses. Now perkily in the clarinet. A musical figure of foreboding appears in answer to Till's saucy motive. Till might well listen to this foreboding, because, towards the end of the tone poem, the music which portrays the judge who sentences him is nothing more than an imposing version of the mock sermon. And continuing from that passage, just before Till is sentenced to death by that judge, we again hear the music of foreboding, now sinister in the muted trumpets. But, for the present, Till ignores the warning as a surprising glissando of the solo violin leads him into his next adventure. He decides to be a Don Juan, but the first notes of the saucy love theme show that at heart he is only Till the adventurer, for they are nothing more than an amorous variation of the first 5 notes of that theme. But the lady is not interested and rejects his advances. This infuriates Till. The idea of any woman's turning him down is simply preposterous. He swears vengeance on the whole female race, and you can hear him swearing it as the brasses pronounce an augmented, that is greatly elongated, version of his mockery theme. His rage is climaxed by the 4 horns blaring out the adventurer theme fortissimo in unison. But after a dramatic pause, his mood changes immediately, and he gaily whistles his mockery theme as he spies the victims of his next prank. They are the pedantic Philistines satirized by Strauss in a pompous theme in the lowest winds. You can hear Till talking to them in mock seriousness as his theme appears in the violins over their theme in the basses. Then you hear him sneering at them as they take his arguments seriously. He finally bursts out laughing and goes off humming a banal little street song. This introduces a short passage that leads subtly to a return to the first theme, the adventurer theme, in its original form. Soon thereafter, that theme becomes triumphant, as Till seems to strut around like a peacock, protesting to the world how grand he is. His insolence knows no bounds. He dances about wildly to music made up of the first 4 notes of his mockery theme. But is suddenly surprised to find himself caught and haled before a judge. Here is the judge. Till is severely questioned. He answers, at first frightened, then slightly more confidently, then loudly, then not at all. Brass chords blare out his fate. As the judge sentences him to death. He is dragged onto the gallows. The flutes portray his last struggle as his body falls through the trap. And he remains dangling limply on the rope.